It could just be that your parent wasn't actually capable of attuning to you. They weren't actually capable. They didn't have the ability to read what you are feeling and empathize with it and feel it and actually meet you where you were. My name is Jack and welcome to Sits Unlocked, the place to learn about social psychology, human behavior, and also learn practical tips on how you can improve your life. If you would like to understand yourself and others better, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Without further ado, I'm going to get on with the topic of this video, which is attunement. What is it and how does it affect us in relationships? So when I say attunement, I mean when you tune in to the other person's emotions and feelings and you actually resonate. You feel what they're feeling, you attune to them, okay? So you're on the same frequency, you're on the same wavelength. As babies, we need our mothers to attune to us. This is a need and not a want. We really need mothers to attune to us because this actually regulates our nervous system and it helps us to calm down and it helps us to actually feel seen, heard, acknowledged. This is very soothing. What happens if you have a mother that doesn't do this? If your mother neglects you or your father neglects you? I.e., you say, hey, I feel like this, and it's always a problem, it's always a burden. Or even you're just dismissed, you're not acknowledged because perhaps your parents have gambling issues or they are alcoholics or they're addicted to another substance or that for whatever reason they are not emotionally available, meaning that they are shut off from their own emotions and therefore cannot access you where you are in your emotions. What happens then? Well, you do not receive attunement. This can be extremely devastating to a human being in their development process, but fear not if you think, well, actually, I didn't get that much attunement. We can learn to cultivate this skill of getting attunement later on in life. The thing is, if we have actually received an upbringing which has given us a lack of attunement, we are likely to replicate that because the chances are, if your parents aren't emotionally available, in some senses you may also not be emotionally available. You may be thinking, I am emotionally available, Jack. I have access to my emotions. I, can express my emotions to other people. So how can you say I'm not emotionally available? The thing about emotional availability is it just means limited availability. This basically means that we can have access to our emotions to a degree, but then also we're cut off from them to another degree. This isn't necessarily a conscious process. So if you are emotionally unavailable, you are unconsciously going to be attracted to other people who are emotionally unavailable. Let's say you invalidate your own emotions unconsciously. I say unconsciously because most of us are doing this kind of stuff when we are doing it unconsciously. It's not a conscious thing. Let's say you invalidate your own emotions, i.e. you don't acknowledge you have a feeling and act on it. Of course, you're not going to necessarily notice when someone else does it to you, or you're going to notice and you're going to be fine with it. You're going to build up a threshold. And again, this could happen because you had parents that didn't particularly acknowledge the way you felt. And this isn't to say that you necessarily had an abusive upbringing, something extreme, and maybe you did have that, but also it could just be that your parent wasn't actually capable of attuning to you. They weren't actually capable. They didn't have the ability to read what you are feeling and empathize with it and feel it and actually meet you where you were. This is actually something that creates a lack of attunement inside of ourselves, and we internalize this model and we don't necessarily read our own feelings and read our own emotions, and we don't necessarily feel them and actually respond to them appropriately. This can create a lot of suffering and it can create a lot of discord within us and a lot of mental pain and physical pain. The thing is that the more we can become aware of our own feelings and become emotionally available, i.e. get those emotions back online, actually start to check in with ourselves, start to actually respond to how we're feeling. The more we can do that, the more we are not going to really want to engage with people who are not going to attune with us. But obviously, people can't always 100% of the time attune to us, and we can't always 100% attune to other people. But if people, by and large, are making you feel dismissed, they're shutting you down, they are withholding love, they're withholding affection. Do you really want this kind of person in your life? Family member, friend, whoever it is, do you want that person in your life? Do you want that person in your life? Do you want someone in your life that is making you feel this way? Now, obviously, it's not always practical to just get rid of everybody from our lives, but we can definitely limit the way we interact with them, the amount we interact with them, and also the way in which we interact with them and engage with them. It's really important to have the ability to decipher whether someone has the capacity to hold space for your emotions and actually be with you in your emotions, or if they don't have the capacity. Because the thing is, when we don't identify if someone has the capacity or not, sometimes we can take it very personally. Why are you withholding to me? Why are you not actually meeting me where I'm at? I've met you where you're at millions of times. Why can't you do that for me? Does this sound familiar? Actually, this is a really common pattern where we can start to give and give and give in the hopes of getting back. And the thing is, you should give and you should receive back. You shouldn't give to get back. It should just be a natural flow of energy. But as I said, if you have the pattern of people pleasing and over giving and things like this, if you consider yourself to be an empath or someone that struggles with codependency, the chances are you do give in abundance and you don't necessarily feel like your relationships are equal and you don't feel like you are getting as much back as you are giving. A lot of this is about emotional availability, becoming aware of your own patterns and actually giving love to yourself. People always say you need to love yourself more, and sometimes I find that quite frustrating when I hear people saying this, because it isn't necessarily a practical thing. But this is something I'm telling you now. If you have heard this and you're like, well, I don't know how to do that, this is a practical thing you can do. You can actually start to notice, okay, am I feeling an emotion? Okay, I'm feeling this emotion. What is it trying to tell me? How can I respond to it? How can I honor it? Let's say someone is not making you feel good because they're downright ignoring you. They're shutting down your emotions. They really don't care. They're not attuning to you. What can you do? Well, you can attune to yourself, because chances are that does not feel good, and you can distance yourself from that and actively reject that. Doesn't mean you have to make a song and dance. Doesn't mean you have to say, I'm rejecting you. It just means that you can say, I don't like this behavior. Now, you can actually enforce a boundary verbally and say, I'm not okay with this. I need this from you if you want to keep them in your life, and that's completely your choice. Attunement is really important. It's something we really need because it feels extremely cathartic. Have you ever had a friend or even a conversation with someone where you have felt, this person just gets me, they get me, they understand what I'm going through, and it feels good, it feels great, because it feels as if the language we are speaking is being received, it's being heard, and the person is speaking the language back to us. What an amazing feeling, because it means that we are actually seen and we are not alone and isolated in our experience. Not everyone, unfortunately, is going to speak your language, and that's okay. Not everyone speaks my language. And, you know, it doesn't mean that that necessarily feels good. But the idea is to actually gravitate towards people who can speak your language. Becoming aware of attunement is a really vital thing to do, because when we can attune to ourselves, we can attune to others. When we can actually recognize that we need attunement, we can actually start to disengage from relationships with people that are withholding attunement, because guess what? You're never going to get your needs met with those people. You are never going to feel at home with those people. You're never going to feel good with those people. Yeah, okay, you might have a moment here or there, but actually it's about recognizing what can certain people offer and not taking that personally if they're not able to offer it, because how sad. If someone is not able to attune in general, they're just not able to actually meet you where you're at, this means that they are massively disconnected from themselves. You cannot change that about a person, unfortunately. I would love to wave a magic wand. I'd love to have a magic wand and then wave it and say, okay, anyone that is disconnected from their emotions, they can actually return to their emotions, but it's not possible. And we need to actually stop worrying about those people and start thinking about ourselves and how we can meet our own needs, the needs we have in the first place, and becoming aware again of us, because when you are someone that gives and gives and gives and gives, you're aware of everyone else and everyone else's needs, but your own needs get put to the back burner. And this is something that we need to bring back online. We need to actually really become familiar with what we're feeling and how we can address these feelings and how we can actually be with these feelings and get our needs met. If you've enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could give the video a like. If you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, that'd be great, and hit the bell icon, because that way you're notified whenever I upload a new video. And also leave me a comment, because I would love to hear from you. It's really nice to actually engage with my subscribers and, you know, just anyone watching the video, because that way I get some feedback and I can actually hear what you guys have to say and what you guys think. So that'd be great, and thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side. Ciao for now.